Okay, here we go. France, La France. And as you already said, we start with the basics chart. So once I touch the screen so that I can go forward, the basics chart. Here we go. The basics. So we'll redo this since I didn't start the recording before. We'll look at Minnesota for land area because we already know that the entire European Union is even smaller than the US, so it doesn't make any sense to compare land area to the US. So comparing it to Minnesota, 1 is less than, 2 is greater than, less than or 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 greater than. We've already done this once, and so I hope that everybody got it right this time because I would say 99% of the people had it right the first time anyway. It is about 3 times the size of Minnesota. It's about 3 times the size of Minnesota. Now, population, is it less than or greater than Minnesota? Less than, greater than, less than, greater than. Minnesota is 5.2. France, less than, greater than, less than, greater than, less than, greater. Excuse me, sir. You really want me to point you out in a recording when you're not behaving, and then I can send that link to your mother, to your grandmother, whomever in your family that I want to, so that they know what you're doing in class? Is that what you really want? No, I did not think so. Your name shall be anonymous unless you do it once more. So, less than, greater than, it is, of course, greater than. It is. Come on. Come on. Okay. The remote is working. That's for sure. But the screen is not. See what happens by goofing around, sir? That's right. For whatever reason. And now eventually it's going to pick up and going to go all the way through. But that is the joy of technology. So we'll just reset it. That's not a problem. Deja vu. It is 64 million people in an area about 3 times the size of Minnesota. And the population is more than 12 times the size. Population density, is it going to be less than or greater than, and less than or greater than 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, less than, greater than? Are they going to be less crammed than we are in Minnesota or more crammed than we are in Minnesota? If they have 3 times the 3 times the land area and 12 times the population, most of you are correct. It is higher. 100 people per square kilometer. What about arable land? Remember, arable land is land that you can grow crops on that get planted every year. Based on your reading and your assignment for today, you should be able to predict, is this going to be a big number or a little number? Raise your hand if you have an idea and be able to explain why based on your reading and your assignment for today. Okay? Yeah, it's going to be greater because they are the number 2 food exporter in the world. Who's number 1? Who's number 1? The United States is first, and then France is second. Think about all the food we produce and how big our country is. France comes in number 2. That means they must have some good land, and they must use it very well. Their arable land is 33%, 1/3 of their land. is used for crops, seasonal crops. Okay? Let's see if we can do better on this one than we did yesterday. What language do they speak in La France? What language do they speak in La France? Allons enfants de la patrie. What language? French, yes. They speak French in France. I'm glad nobody said Welsh or Gaelic, because we covered that yesterday. Life expectancy, ladies and gentlemen. Men, you live longer in France than you do in the United States. You live longer in France than in the United States. But the women live longer in France too. Got ya. Yes. Ooh, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there and say that the men have the harder manly jobs. Uh-uh. No, I don't think so. I know what you're trying to say, and you got all the ladies looking at you like, oh, don't you go there. No, there could be a variety of reasons, but it's biological too, probably. But you're, the girls are poisoning you by having cooties? You're in what grade now? Ooh, get away from me, you got cooties. Oh, did you know? Speaking of cooties, anybody here ever play the game Cootie? It was invented in Forest Lake. Yep. No, not by me. Okay, GDP per capita, boing, 33,200. Cooties are not real. Who can tell me? 5, 4, 3, 2, settling it down, settling it down. Who can tell me one thing that you know about France right now, just from this slide? From this slide, you can tell a couple things about France, and it's not that they have palaces or chateaus. What's one thing you can tell me, Victor? You can tell that by that slide that they're famous? No. No, think about what we did yesterday. I did the same thing yesterday with the UK and with Ireland. What's one thing? Megan. Okay, they use euros. You see the euro symbol up here. They use euros. What's another thing that you can tell me? Colin. They're a member of the EU, and the EU stands for? The European Union. Good. Good. France is a member of the European Union, and it uses the euro. France is the blankiest country in Western Europe. France is the blankiest country in Western Europe. Fill in the blankiest. It is the largest. And if you look at this map, you see how big France is. You have little tiny Luxembourg up here. Remember I said that there's a country that gets $118,000. That's their GDP per capita. That's right here in Liechtenstein, right between Switzerland and Austria. But here is France. What mountains do you have in the southwest of France? What mountains do you have in the southwest of France, along the southwest border of France. Elijah, we have the Pyrenees. Good. What mountains do we have in the southeast of France? The southeast border of France. Sydney? The Alps over here. Yes, yes. So all of that stuff will be coming around here in a moment. And as you said, it is the blankiest country, or the largest country in Western Europe. The climate. There are two kinds of climate in France. In the north, it's like the UK and like Ireland. So who can tell me what the climate is like in the north? It's like the UK, it's like Ireland. Okay, it's mild all year long and it's rainy. Good. That's the way it's like in the north. Mild all year long and rainy. Mild all year long and it's rainy. Not as rainy as in the UK and Ireland, but certainly it is mild like it is all year long. Now, the south. Anybody remember what the south is like? What is the south like? Espen? Can you tell me what that means? Okay, it is warm and dry. It's hot and dry, but not all year long. It's hot and dry for part of the year. It's hot and dry when? In the summer, it's hot and dry. It hardly rains at all during the summertime. In the summer, it's hot and dry, and in the winter, no, it's not freezing cold. No. Because the southern part of France is where you get the French Riviera, the beaches. Yeah, it's mild in the winter, and that's when it rains. It rains in the winter time there. So in the south, it's hot and dry summers and mild winters. And it's in the winter time when it rains. Mild winters. Mild meaning, ooh, it might get down to 70 something. Ooh, cold. Not exactly freezing, is it, Victor? 70s? No. Good guess, though. Good guess, though. And Espen, you want to tell us again what's the name of that climate? It is the Mediterranean climate. That's the name of it. The Mediterranean climate. Because it's named after what? It's named after, Jordan? The Mediterranean Sea, which southern France borders. That's right. Good. Okay, moving on. You saw something there? Well, I wasn't quite sure. I didn't remember whether or not they would pop up together, so I might as well do it because I asked you already. In the southeastern part of France, what are the mountain ranges what is the mountain range that forms its border with Switzerland and Italy? The Alps, yes. There it is. In the southeastern part of France, you have the Alps. In the southeastern part of France, you have the Alps. And what do you have in the southwest? Southwestern part of France. You have the Pyrenees. Good. That's okay. If you're not sure how to say it, I don't care if you pronounce it wrong, as long as you begin to learn the correct pronunciation. They're called the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees. So that is the physical geography of France. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. 2 climate zones. Moving on. Let's take a look at their economy. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum. Economy. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Anybody here know that song? From the Muppets? Ah. Phenomena. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum. Yep. Here we go. Economy. In France, the main parts of their economy are M, A, and S. M, A, and S. Who can give me the M? M. Sammy. Manufacturing. And what does manufacturing mean? Reminders, reminders, reminders. Making things. Good. Manufacturing, making things. Now we need the A. The A. Connor? Agriculture, which means what again? What does agriculture mean again? Logan? Farming, growing things. So we have making things and growing things. And now we need the S. Remember, you're looking at one right here. I'm a member of the S. I'm a member of the S. Service industries. Good. Manufacturing, agriculture, and service industries are the main parts of the French economy. We're going to focus on this agriculture portion for a moment. Because based on your reading and on your assignment and what Michaela said earlier, I believe it was Michaela, what is special about France with regards to its agriculture? What is special about France with regards to its agriculture? France is the blank, blank is blank, 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 or blank inking in the world. Rachel. It is the second largest food exporter in the world. Yes, the only country that exports more food is, as you said earlier, the United States. France is the second largest food exporter in the world. That's saying something. Since France is about, let's say it was 600 and some thousand square kilometers compared to 9 million. So it's about, it's more than 1/10 the size of the United States, and it still produces so much food. It's a powerhouse. Speaking of power, France is also unique in where it gets most of its electricity, because it doesn't have a lot of access to oil and natural gas. What is special about where France gets most of its energy, its electricity? They use nuclear power plants. Does anybody remember how much of their electricity is produced by nuclear power plants? How much is produced by nuclear power plants? 80%, yes. 80% of its power comes from nuclear power. 80%. There are some people in the US that say we should go and start building more nuclear power plants. There are some people that don't want more nuclear power plants. There's a debate. Is it worth the risk? Because when a nuclear power plant explodes or has a failure like you'll learn about one in the Ukraine, it has some really nasty side effects. Yes. Not all the children, but yeah, the nuclear power plant at Chernobyl, that was the name of the place, had a failure, and it basically melted and released a lot of radioactivity, and we'll get into that when we study the Ukraine. And the surrounding area had to be evacuated. And still today, it happened back in the 1980s. Still today, children are still being born with birth defects from that general region. I've been in the region. I've driven through the radioactive region before. And I'll talk about that when we get to that part of geography. France has a nice climate. France has a lot of historical buildings. Because of its climate, because of its history and beauty, it is also the world's most, Elijah? It is the most traveled to or most visited country. More people visit France than any other country in the world. More people visit France and vacation in France than any other country in the world. Okay, the government of France. Here it comes. The government of France is called a federal republic. In a federal republic, the people elect a president. In a federal republic, there is a strong central government. What is a federal republic that you are familiar with? Think about the activity you had in homeroom today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the for which it stands. Then, yes, the United States is a federal republic, just like France. France is a federal republic, just like the U.S. They have a president. Le Président Sarkozy. That's the current president in France. What is the capital of France? With that famous tower, you know, called the City of Lights. Colin? Paris is the capital. And Paris, how many people do we have in Minnesota? The entire state of Minnesota. How many people do we have in the entire state of Minnesota? Remember, it's on your basics chart. Every single basics chart has it. How many people do we have in Minnesota? Alex? 5.2 million. In Paris alone, there are 10. The city of Paris contains about twice as many people as we have in the entire state of Minnesota. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Okay. Let's take a look at how we are connected to France. U.S.-French connections, or U.S.-France connections. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the only reason why you are sitting here in this classroom today as a citizen of the United States of America is thanks to France. Because France helped us win something. If it wasn't for their help, we would not have won. They gave us troops, they gave us supplies, they gave us their navy to use. And that was the Revolutionary War, yeah. France helped us win the Revolutionary War. France joined with the United States to beat Great Britain. You know what they got out of the deal? Their country went bankrupt. And their kings got their heads chopped off. For real. Because the people revolted because there wasn't enough food. They couldn't buy enough things. As a result of France helping us, France sort of collapsed. Is that a big sacrifice? Yeah. Let me tell you something. About not even 10 years ago, when the United States decided to go to war with Iraq and Iran, France said, we're not going to go to war with Iraq. Osama bin Laden has nothing to do with Iraq. We shouldn't get involved with Iraq. A lot of people in the United States began to hate France. They said, what has France ever done for us? Let's forget them. What has France ever done for us? Got us our freedom. It got so bad that people started renaming things. French fries got renamed as freedom fries because we can't have anything French because everything French was bad. French toast became freedom toast. Actually, in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., they passed a law that said the cafeteria in the Capitol building could no longer serve French fries. They had to be called freedom fries because anything French was bad. They forgot about what France has done for us. France helped us win the Revolutionary War. For our 100th anniversary, our 100th birthday, France gave us the Statue of Liberty, free. The Statue of Liberty, the symbol of our country, was given to us as a gift from France. The only thing we had to do was pay for the pedestal that it stood on. France has never done anything for us. We saved their butt in World War II. France has never done anything for us. I think those are two huge things that France has done for us. I think so. So if anybody ever tries to say France is bad, remember what they've done for us. France has done a lot for us. Not just these two things. But we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for France. Those are the French connections. One last thing. This is going to be really short before we end the notes portion, as we're going to look at a place called Benelux. Benelux. And it's really not a place. It is a term that is used to describe three countries. Who can give me the first of the Benelux countries? The Benelux countries. First one? Belgium. Yes. Belgium is a member of the EU, and it uses the euro. Belgium. What is the second country in Benelux? What's the second country in Benelux? Actually, the Netherlands. Yes. The Netherlands. And actually, Netherlands is a word that means the lowlands. That's what Netherlands mean. The nether regions are low regions. Netherlands, also a member of the EU and also uses the euro. Last but not least, in the Benelux countries, the Benelux countries, yes, Luxembourg or Luxembourg also uses the euro, also is a member of the EU, and is the home to the Pigloo Little Penguin song videos. That's where they come from. Remember the little boy penguin? Yep. where his dad was leaving and he wanted him to stay, so he said, let's play some cards, let's play basketball. Maybe you were absent that day. Benelux. Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the notes, but let's take a look at France, shall we? Let's take a look at some pictures from France. Take you on a little tour. Here we go. Let's take a look at Paris, the capital with 10 million people. This is a church on the tall hill in Paris. The church's name is La Cathédrale de Sacré-Cœur, or Sacred Heart. It's in a region called Montmartre, which is a high region of Paris. And you can actually go up here into the little towers. And if you look out those towers, here's a front view looking up at it. Nice blue sky. Don't ask me what they spilled on the top there. I don't know. But if you go up to the towers, you can look out over the city. Some of these are my pictures. Some of these are not my pictures. I've been in Paris once. This picture overlooking the rest of the city, that's my picture. My pictures are from quite some time ago, so they're not as pretty. They don't have as good a color. And then, of course, you have this, which is on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, the Eiffel Tower. Yes, you can go up to the first level, second level, or all the way up to the observation level. Around this area, you can sit. There are lots of pigeons in this area. Lots of pigeons. You just have to be careful because along with pigeons come pigeon doo. This is l'Académie Nationale de Musique. That's right. This is like the opera house in Paris. Fancy, lots of gold, lots of copper roofs that have turned to that nice sort of greenish blue color. Notre Dame de Paris, this is where Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, lives, up in the tower. Yes, he's still up there ringing the bells. From the backside, it's on an island in the middle of the Seine River. And it's so open on the inside because all the supports are on the outside, holding it up. Those are called flying buttresses. No, not that kind of butt. Victor. They have a lot of windows. It's the kind of architecture where they have a lot of tall windows in it. And so they didn't have enough room for very thick walls to keep the building standing up. So they have the support on the outside to keep the inside very open and have lots of windows. That was before they used steel. This is all stone. This is called a rose window. From the outside, it might not look that pretty, but from the inside, those are pictures. They normally tell the stories from the Bible and that. Those are all pictures of different stories in that. There it is at night. This is called Les Invalides. If you've ever heard of a guy called Napoleon Bonaparte, not dynamite. He was an emperor of France that conquered most of Europe. He is buried in here. This is his tomb. The Louvre Museum and the entrance is La Pyramide. This is where, if you've ever seen the Da Vinci Code, you've seen this in the Da Vinci Code where they look for Mary Magdalene. You would see the pyramid there. Another picture of the pyramid with the fountain. The Louvre is where you see the Mona Lisa. Here's the river. You can take boat tours of Paris along the river. In the distance, you see Notre Dame de Paris. This is L'Arc de Triomphe, or the Triumphal Arch. You can actually go inside up to the top and look out over the city there as well. There it is at night. The cars all go around it. It's a roundabout. And from the top, you can look down the main streets, the Champs-Élysées. In the other direction, there's another arch. In European cities, in old European cities, you cannot build taller than the tallest church. So you're not going to see a lot of skyscrapers in the center of old cities. They'll build them out in the suburbs, like you see here. That is another arch. You see that? It's also a building. It's called L'Arc de Défense. Those are offices. Inside that, the entrances are on both sides, elevators up. There are offices in there. It's called the Arch of Defense, L'Arc de Défense. Okay, let's go to some place called the Loire Valley. This is where all the kings used to go, kings and queens used to go in the summertime for vacations. They built lots of castles along the Loire. Some of them they built on top of the river, like that one. So a river flows underneath it. That's that castle. The river is over here. The river is flowing underneath the castle, underneath the palace. Here's another one. No central heat, so every room had to have its own fireplace. And if you have your own fireplaces, each fireplace needed to have its own smokestack or chimney. That's why you have all these chimneys up there. There's the same, just a little closer up. Lots of chimneys. I wouldn't want to clean them. On the other side of that palace, they have these fancy gardens with not swimming pools, but you want to talk about fancy gardens? Hedge mazes, just like in Harry Potter. Victor? These palaces were not used for war. They're too fancy, but before, older palaces they did. But these are a little too new for that. Fancy gardens. I wouldn't want to take care of these. We'll finish this up tomorrow. Late folder, yep. I'm just going to continue on now that the students are gone. I'll just finish this up so that we can have it on one recording. Here again you see more of the fancy gardens in Loire Valley, in the palaces. Moving on from the Loire, let's go to Normandy. This is the site where in World War II the Allies landed, up in northwestern France. And we have the monastery of Mont Saint-Michel. It is on an island off the coast of France, off of Normandy. You see down in the corner there are some parking spots, old fortifications around there, and it was strategically built there because years ago the tidal waters would create an island around it, or would totally surround it and make it into an island. Today, because of silt and buildup of land from the rivers nearby, it does not totally get surrounded anymore by the water. But there is now a modern causeway that links it to the land, to the mainland. At night, on Mont Saint-Michel, some more pictures from Normandy. The region is known for its white cliffs, just like on the other side of the English Channel, we have the White Cliffs of Dover. This area is known for raising dairy cattle. Here, another image from the sea. Many little sea towns, fishing, an old water wheel. This is somebody's house in one of the villages in Normandy. Thatched roofs, roofs made from straw, are still used. Not very good in terms of fire hazards, as well as this type of stucco architecture. Oftentimes in houses like this, even in Eastern Europe, the insulation is actually mud and straw mixed, packed in. Let's go down to the Alps, the high mountains in the central part of Europe. Oftentimes you'll have pasture land where the cattle will be brought up the sides of the mountains to the higher pastures in the summertime and then brought down to the lower pastures in the wintertime. The towns are normally nestled down in the valley, which also means that when there's lots of snow, you have the potential for avalanches coming down and taking out some of the cities. And speaking of snow, there are mountains that have snow all year long, including Europe's highest point, which is in France, called Mont Blanc, or White Mountain. In southern France, remember, it's the Mediterranean climate. It's hot and dry during the summer, and in the winter months, it's mild, and that's when it's rainy. Here we have a lavender farm in the southern part of France. Here you can see that, yes, some of the area can get quite dry. This almost looks like something from southwestern U.S. This is in an area called Provence in south central, the southern central part of France. Here is a fortified city. It's called Carcassonne. The entire city was walled, so you see that it was built to be fortified so that in the Middle Ages, if anybody tried to attack, everybody would run inside the castle, inside the smaller part of the city, and be protected. The only way into the city, going up, here you see one of the entrances. The Mediterranean coast is very rugged. You don't find sandy beaches along the Mediterranean. Most of the beaches along the Mediterranean and Black Seas are actually rock, small rock. But here you have the opportunity to go kayaking or canoeing. Here you see another area, some people with little paddle boats, things like that. Very warm, very clear blue water. And here's the beach. You see it's not made out of sand, it's pebbles and rocks. This is on the French Riviera, southern France. Here is Monte Carlo, Monaco. Very highly, densely populated city. Most of it high rises, compacted right along the cliffs of hills and mountains in the back. You can see somewhat of the road serpentining up here. It's home to lots of rich people, lots of casinos. You might see movies dealing with James Bond here. Here, this is a private marina with people living in the apartments around their yachts. And that is the end of the pictures from France.